January, so you know what that means. It's time to rumble. Going back to the end of Hulk Hogan's first WWF title reign, the Royal Rumble has occupied a date in every single January since, and it's clear why the event has been such a staple. Pat Patterson's brainchild began as a love letter to the famed Battle Royals of Roy Shire's old San Francisco territory. Since then, the Rumble has become an appointment event for even casual fans, as there's something endlessly alluring about that dramatic countdown into yet another bruiser hurtling out of the chute. Through the years, a who's who of legends, icons, and contemporary stars have been the last person standing, and since 1993, victory in the Rumble has assured the winner a world title match at the next WrestleMania. It's high-stakes competition combined with multifaceted theatre, and when you combine those elements with heaping helpings of star power, you create some of the most highly anticipated matches on the calendar. Since 1988, the annual battles, plus one bonus Rumble, have produced 30 different winners, putting us in the position to create a complete Royal Rumble match out of just the previous victors. So who were those winners, the grittiest of those grit-laden fields? Here they all are in one video collection with a little insight into their Rumble victories and a glance at where they all are now. Mason Ryan, Stevie Ray, Earthquake, Alundra Blaze, Norman Smiley, Zach Gowen, Bam Bam Bigelow, Ahmed Johnson, Tory Wilson, Buff, Bagwell, Robert Gibson, Dave Taylor, Terry Taylor, and Godfather's Holmes. Dwayne Gill, Adam Bomb, Michael Hayes, Cor Von, S.A. Rios, Jim Manai, the manager from Kai and Tai, Jim Powers, Francine, Jack Swagger, Mean Gene, Fat Chick Thriller, Duke the Dumpster, Oklahoma Manta. What happened to that wrestler? Some were main eventing, which leaves me lamenting. What happened to that wrestler? Some since long forgotten, but their memories live on. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. The first ever Royal Rumble broadcast was not a pay-per-view, but rather a USA Network special, and there were only 20 entrants for this particular fray, but the whole shebang was well received nonetheless. The inaugural winner was Duggan, who entered from the number 13 position and managed to low bridge the towering one-man gang out to secure the victory. Duggan still wrestles from time to time today in his 60s and resides in Lugolf, South Carolina. Big John Studd. A curious pick for winner, Studd had returned to WWF in late 1988 after 2 years away. Once a cornerstone of the villainous Heenan family, Studd aligned himself against his old manager, who now backed Studd nemesis Andre the Giant. As for the Rumble, Studd entered late and ragdolled Ted DiBiase to his doom to win the gauntlet. Sadly, John Minton passed away in March 1995 from liver cancer and Hodgkin's disease at the age of 47. Hulk Hogan. The era's most powerful star surely had to at least once win the promotion's most grueling battle of strength and wills, and he did so twice at the onset of the 1990s. He's also the only reigning WWF champion to win the 30-man match, as the winner gets a title match stipulation had not yet been introduced. A legendary but polarizing figure, Hogan still makes guest appearances today with WWE, and is the subject of a forthcoming Netflix biopic where he will be played by Chris Hemsworth. Ric Flair. In what was arguably the greatest Rumble in event history, the Nature Boy backed up all of his boasts with a performance for the ages. Flair entered the 1992 Rumble from the number 3 position, lasted for a shade over 60 minutes, and captured the vacant WWF title by being the last man standing. Flair is still with WWE today on a Legends deal, and if recent Raws are anything to go by, looks like he'll be providing his services to Lacey Evans. Yokozuna. He'd only debuted on television 3 months prior, so the quarter-ton sumo warrior was taking the accelerate course to the main event picture. Nobody could hoist the 500-plus pounder over the ropes in 1993, nor could Randy Savage pin him, which, wait, what the hell was Savage thinking? No matter, Yoko bench-pressed Macho over the top rope like a throw pillow. Sadly, Rodney Anawahi passed away in October of 2000 of a pulmonary edema, aged just 34. Lex Luger. Luger's co-winning of the 1994 Rumble match followed months of aggressive reconfiguration and questionable booking, as he became the second coming of patriotic Hulk Hogan, only to blow opportunities at becoming the top guy. A shared Rumble victory here was sadly the last big hurrah for Mr. Made in the USA in the company. After many trials and tribulations in his life, Luger consults WWE Today on its wellness policy and resides in Orlando, Florida. Bret Hart. The real beneficiary of the unprecedented 1994 double finish was the Hitman, who went on to leave WrestleMania 10 with his second WWF World Heavyweight title. Fan response at the Rumble was much more vocal for Hart, as he and Luger were each separately announced as winner, with support for Bret greatly outsizing that of Lex. Still revered by several generations of fans, Hart makes occasional appearances for major wrestling organizations and still resides in his native Calgary. Shawn Michaels. They may have only been 1-minute intervals in 1995, but Michaels' victory from the #1 draw was still mighty impressive, especially seeing as he bumped off virtually everyone else that hit the ring. A year later, and now a hero, Michaels began forging his path to WrestleMania 12, where he would culminate his boyhood dream. Today, the showstopper trains prospects at WWE's Performance Center and is one of the top names working behind the scenes at NXT. Stone Cold Steve Austin. The only 3-time Rumble winner told 3 distinct stories in his victories. The first win was tainted by resourceful cheating, while the second was an anti-hero valiantly beating his way through the mob to earn a title shot. 3 years later, recovered from a major spinal surgery, a bloody Austin managed to gut out one more run. Austin works today on several media projects, including his Steve Austin Show podcast, Straight Up Steve Austin reality series, and Broken Skull Sessions interview show on the WWE Network. Vince McMahon. The entire 1999 Rumble match was as farcical as the modern-day 24/7 title scene, as the reality of the match demonstrated more flexibility than Casey Catanzaro playing Twister. In the end, the tyrannical McMahon, who barely even took part in the match, threw Austin out with The Rock's assistance, theoretically earning a spot in the WrestleMania main event, but it wasn't to be. McMahon, obviously, is still the master and ruler of WWE today, the company he's held majority ownership of since 1982. The Rock. Technically, we should be honouring the Big Show with this entry, since The Rock's feet sunk to the floor before all 500 pounds of show came crashing down to the ringside area. Instead, it was Rock who claimed Rumble victory, though it sadly didn't net him the WWF title at WrestleMania the way that everybody assumed it would. Still one of the biggest stars on planet Earth, Rock hosts the NBC athletic game show The Titan Games, and is slated to star in the comedy thriller Red Notice. Triple H. Just as Stone Cold's victory a year earlier followed a long-term injury layoff, so too did Triple H's, as he fought his way back after 8 months on the shelf with a quad tear. To celebrate his comeback, his Rumble entrance took 3 minutes in a match with 2-minute intervals, so one can only assume that the timekeeper had to pee really bad. Today, Triple H runs NXT and also serves WWE as Executive Vice President of Global Talent Strategy and Development. Brock Lesnar. Talk about a rare trifecta. When Lesnar burst onto the WWE scene in 2002, it was clear he was special, but imagine being so special that you achieve what he did in his first year. How many others can tally a King of the Ring crown, a WWE Championship run, and a Rumble win after just 10 months on the main stage? Lesnar is, as of press time, a free agent, as his WWE contract lapsed after WrestleMania 36. It's expected that he will sign a new deal when larger crowds are permitted again, but who knows? Chris Benoit. 2 wrestlers won the Rumble match from the #1 position, the By the Numbers videos tell us, and one of them is Shawn Michaels. They don't mention the Rabid Wolverine by name for obvious reasons, but at the time, his victory set a new longevity mark at just over 62 minutes, though that record only stood for 2 years. Benoit, as we all know, murdered wife Nancy and son Daniel in June of 2007, before taking his own life at the age of 40. Batista. At the dawn of 2005, 2 developmental projects were about to become made men for life, and the crowd was all for both ascensions. In this particular Rumble, not yet world champion John Cena took the silver medal to not yet world champion Batista's gold. That victory for Batista was far better received than his 2014 win, which left Pittsburgh more flustered than that time Bane blew up their stadium. Batista is currently forging a high-profile career in film, as his success in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies led him to films like Spectre, Stuber, My Spy, and an upcoming remake of Dune. Rey Mysterio. Dedicating his performance in the match to the recently departed Eddie Guerrero, Mysterio entered the 2006 Rumble from the second position and ended up setting the all-time longevity record for Rumbles that were held in continental North America. In the end, Mysterio outlasted Triple H and Randy Orton to cap off one of the more feel-good Rumble matches. Still active today in his mid-40s, Mysterio wrestles on SmackDown, where he guides the career of young son Dominic. The Undertaker. There weren't many landmark accolades missing from Undertaker's impressive resume come 2007, but a Royal Rumble victory did remain elusive. It came down to the dead man and longtime rival Shawn Michaels, and the two icons delivered one of the most dramatic final sequences a Rumble match had seen to that point. In the end, Undertaker became the first man in 20 Rumbles to win the match from the final number. Today, Undertaker looks to be retired from wrestling at long last, ending a storied 30-year career that will never be equaled. John Cena. Impress your friends with this bit of cocktail party trivia. Cena's Rumble wins both came on the date January 27th, and in both cases, Santino Marella was the first man eliminated. Don't let the blank stares fool you, you are the absolute life of the party if you drop that keen little factoid on the other guests. Cena has since graced the silver screen many times over, including in the role of Peacemaker in the upcoming Suicide Squad picture, and will also host the revival of the game show Wipeout. Randy Orton. Orton survived a star-studded Final Four in 2009, which included a WWE executive, an AEW executive, and a dude who was apparently effed on by a referee. 8 years later, inside the Alamo Dome, Orton accidentally turned face by giving Roman Reigns an RKO before casting him out en route to his second Rumble win. Now in his 40s, Orton is still one of WWE's franchise players over on Monday Night Raw, and recently had his bloody face burned off. Edge. The first of two occasions in which Edge entered the Royal Rumble as a surprise entrant, this was the one where fans didn't speculate for months on end whether or not the rated R superstar was going to take part. In this case, Edge returned after 7 months on the shelf with an Achilles tear and eliminated longtime rival Cena for the win. Today, Edge is under contract with WWE and was last seen on the Raw brand before getting sidelined with a torn triceps. Alberto Del Rio. The only regular Royal Rumble in history to have more than 30 entrants was the only one for a reason, as the match mostly dragged to its eventual end. And what an end, as a Del Rio fake-out victory was dashed by the revelation that Santino Marella was never actually eliminated. Then Del Rio eliminated him. In October of 2020, Jose Rodriguez was indicted on felony charges of aggravated kidnapping and assault stemming from an alleged incident in May. Sheamus. It wasn't the outcome most fans were expecting, as it seemed for all the world like a returning Chris Jericho would be the one to get the Rumble Duke. Instead, Jericho finished second, getting bounced from the ring apron by a Sheamus bro kick. And that would be far from the last bro kick to perturb WWE fans in 2012. Now in his 40s, Sheamus is still going strong in WWE, performing on the Raw brand. Roman Reigns. You can still hear those boos today. Let's be honest, the city of Philadelphia would have still booed Reigns even if he were the one that caught the Philly special in the Super Bowl and other crowds around the Horn followed in that parade of derision. Not even The Rock, who just happened to be there, honest, was going to put smiles on faces that night, unless he hit Roman with a tire iron, that is. Today, Reigns has been positively rejuvenated as the lead heel on SmackDown, if not WWE altogether, thanks to his domineering tribal chief role. Shinsuke Nakamura. One of the more surprising Rumble winners, but a pleasant one at that. Between the fact that the inevitable Brock Lesnar challenger Reigns was in the match, and that Nakamura drew a middling number like 14, Shinsuke just seemed to be an upper mid-carder there to help fill out the numbers, until he actually managed to win the thing. Nakamura is still hanging around WWE today over on the SmackDown brand. Asuka. The first ever Women's Royal Rumble was laden with names of the past, but it was the unbeaten Asuka who survived the skirmish, last eliminating Nikki Bella to earn the women's title match of her choosing at WrestleMania 34. She then went on to lose to Charlotte Flair in the second match of the pay-per-view, because the Superdome is where unbeaten streaks get ended by blondes. Asuka is presently part of WWE's Raw brand, where she holds the Women's Championship and is one half of the Women's Tag Team Champions. Braun Strowman. When WWE Network put Greatest Royal Rumble in its listings, some wondered why they were airing the 1992 Royal Rumble on a Friday morning in April. But no, the Greatest Royal Rumble was actually a special event that featured such luminaries as massive chest wound Daniel Bryan, Dan Mather, Dabba-Kato, Yokozuna, and of course equilibrium-free Titus O'Neil. Strowman won the 50-man frolic, earning a green belt and a trophy that bears the structural integrity of a shower curtain. As for Strowman, the monster among men still makes his presence felt over on Raw. Becky Lynch. Lynch wasn't even scheduled for the 2019 Women's Rumble, but an injury to Lana opened up a spot, and that's how Lynch was able to gain entry. Well, that and intimidating Finlay into giving her Lana's number, because Finlay knows a badass when he sees one. From there, the man pushed through to qualify for what was the first women's main event in WrestleMania history. Lynch is still among WWE's biggest stars, though as of writing, was off on maternity leave. Seth Rollins. And wouldn't you know, on the same night of Lynch's triumph, the other half of the happy couple took the men's Rumble honors, becoming the first person wearing Chicago Bears colors to win that deep into January in years. Like Nakamura, Rollins had a long road to hoe, coming in at the number 10 draw and lasting over 40 minutes before stomping Strowman to his end. Rollins is presently a WWE SmackDown superstar, though hasn't been seen lately as he's been changing nappies. Charlotte Flair. The first ever parent-offspring combo to win Rumble matches goes to the Flair flock, as Shane McMahon, Dominic Mysterio, and Brooke Hogan were all deprived of the honor. Charlotte opted to challenge for the NXT Women's title at WrestleMania 36, which many assumed was a good opportunity to put Rhea Ripley over strong. Well, Flair was drafted back to the Raw brand in 2020 and currently reigns as one half of the Women's Tag Team Champions. Drew McIntyre. Brock Lesnar's barrage of beatings in the 2020 Rumble looked to be unstoppable, until McIntyre arrived to halt the momentum of the beast. That maddening streak of Lesnar eliminations was justified by the Claymore that sent him barreling to the outside, sheerly for the mighty roar that McIntyre received as would-be conqueror. McIntyre went on to defeat Lesnar for the WWE title at WrestleMania 36, holding the gold for 7 months until Randy Orton, the bastard, took it off him, then he got it back, and now he's WWE champion again. Bye!